Thomas, good to see you. Let's talk about the 6 moments to move your money. There are
Mhm.
times when moving your money isn't just a good idea, it's necessary, and figuring out when can help you protect your investments, reduce your taxes, and stay in line with your long term goals. So, first would be Roth conversions. When does it make sense to move money from a traditional to a Roth account?
Right. Right now is a great time, actually.
Yeah.
Depending on the tax environment, we're in a low tax environment right now. They're trying to get this big, beautiful bill through Congress and through the Senate. So, if that doesn't, if the tax rates go up, right now would be a great time to consider moving your Roth or moving your traditional to a Roth, just so that in the future we don't know what the tax rates are going to be, and
Right.
given the debt that we have,
Mhm.
a high probability that the tax rates are going to be higher. So, right now would be a great time.
Right. A big milestone for retirement accounts is 59 and a half. What is the significance of that age and what is an in-service distribution?
Right. 59 and a half is when you can begin to take distributions from your qualified accounts, which is like your 401k or your IRA. And you can begin to take distributions without having a tax penalty. Typically, it's a 10% tax penalty if you take it prior to 59 and a half. Now, some companies do allow what they call an in-service distribution. And what that is it allows you to take a distribution from your 401k without experiencing those issues of having that tax problem. So typically about 55, or if you've been at a certain public sector job for a period of time, you can take a distribution from your account. So mhm.
And let's talk about changing jobs. What should people do with their old 401ks when they get a new job?
Yeah. So depending, on the relationship with with the company, or perhaps the actual institution that the money is at. Like I said before, typically 401ks are the lowest ways to invest. But if there's no relationship, and if we can find something that is economical in regards to the fees that are concerned, then you should probably consider moving your 401k. And especially if it's not a great relationship, why keep it there?
Right, right.
Mhm.
Another sign it might be time to make a move, high fees. But how can someone figure out if they are paying too much?
Right. Typically, your fees are all stated on your statements. You just might need to do a thorough analysis of your statements that you get to see where your fees are. Sometimes you can reach out to your advisor and say, hey, can I get a fee breakdown? Can you explain to me how these fees work? And then you can analyze to see what you're spending. And then sometimes it's not just only the fees that the advisor is charging. You may want to even look at some of the funds that you're in, because
Mhm.
they have costs as well.
Right. Performance matters too. So, at what point should someone consider moving their money if their investments are underperforming?
So depending on what your investment philosophy is, I'm of the school of thought of passive management. Obviously, I do have clients that do have some active managed portfolios, but you want to give it some time. Sometimes it's a good time to get in. Especially when there's a market dip, your portfolio may be dipping. You may not get that performance in that quarter, or that half of year, or maybe even that year. Depending on what your investment philosophy, I think that's really important. And then maybe looking at a reallocation, maybe in a year or two, if you're not getting the performance you want. But don't be so quick to move. Don't do an emotional, move based
Mhm.
off just
Right.
low your performance.
And what if someone's time horizon changes? Maybe they're retiring sooner than expected. How should their investment approach shift?
Right. So if they're depending, if they're planning on retiring a lot sooner, then you may want to think about a reallocation. Are you too heavily weighted in equities? Maybe there's not enough exposure to some bonds, or perhaps you may want to think about reallocating altogether to preserve what you have. And we typically do those through different types of annuities to protect what you have. So you
Mhm.
definitely want to think about preserving what you've actually accumulated if you're thinking about retiring sooner.
Right. Clearly a little bit more complicated than set it and forget it. So, Thomas, if somebody wants to talk through these opportunities to move their money, what's the best way to reach you with questions?
Yeah, definitely reach out to me through my website, martinheritagegroupllc.com. You can also give me a call, 651-503-6064. You can also shoot me an email, info@martinheritagegroupllc.com. And then I'm on all social media platforms at Martin Heritage Group.
Great. Thomas, thank you.
Thank you.